gentle. Oh, oops, hold on. Okay. Sorry. All right, Stokastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMac, joined by Matt Belman, as we have a solemn occasion here. We have the game of the year. It is week 18. It is for the NFC bye. We have the Vikings. We have the Detroit Lions, the teams of destiny. Detroit played it straight on Monday Night Football. Will they be rewarded tonight with a bye? We will find out. Whomever has to go on the road as the 5 seed, that's a tougher way to get into the Super Bowl. We have seen teams do that, but it's not going to be any easier. Matt, how are you feeling today?
I'm feeling okay. Talked about some injury and suspension issues that kind of screwed my lineups earlier, but it's okay. I still have one decent one, so probably break even on the day. And then, yeah, potentially the game of the year tonight. Man, I hate Detroit. The more that I think about it, I hate Detroit. Last week playing all their starters when there was really no reason to. I respect it. I guess the main reason I hate Detroit is because they were like the Browns for so long, and now they're on the up and up, and the Browns are still the Browns. So I hate Detroit. I hate Detroit. It's mainly jealousy, though.
Yeah, I don't have a dog in this one because they were bad for so long. So my fond memories of Detroit, the Lions, the Motor City Kitties, as I like to call them, is
Yeah,
Super Tecmo Bowl and Barry Sanders, the unstoppable Barry Sanders in the edition with Bo Jackson. Oh, that was the pinnacle of video games. People think Madden 25 is good and all these first person shooter games and the VR games and all of that. No, no, no. It was Super Tecmo Bowl. That's what it was. That's what it was. John Prince, let's get started. All right. Basically a coin flip for this game. We have the highest total this is from an ESPN article I read. Highest total since 2021 or 2020. And the second highest total, I think, basically since that Rams Chiefs game that was way back in the day that had the 100 points scored in it.
that game was
So
crazy.
this oh, just please, just please. So injury news and notes that we need to know. Khalif Raymond is active. He is $200 on DraftKings. He is going to make all of that magic happen. He was dealing with the foot injury. He was on the injured reserve for when he got out, since he was hurt in week 12. Craig Reynolds is active. He popped up on Friday with a back issue. So we think he's good to go. But if he is not, then that would mean Jamar Jefferson, and I don't think Biaki, I think that's the rookie's name, is going to really play into this. But Biaki was also super cheap as well. But it seems that Reynolds is going to be playing tonight. Detroit is missing about half of their defense, actually a little more when you start counting in their rotations of their full 22 on defense. They're missing a good portion there. Nothing really new about that, but they're down to understudies across a lot of positions, and they've been giving up a ton of yards. Another stat courtesy of ESPN. I think over the last 4-game stretch, not only have they scored 30 points in 3 of them, they've allowed 30 points in 3, or something crazy like that. Detroit does have the number 1 offense, but they are dreadful on defense, mostly because of these issues. They are missing key people at all 3 levels, so it could be a challenge. And then the last guy was banged up was Aaron Jones, but that's kind of the default position for that poor fella over the last couple of seasons here. Any other injuries that we need to worry about? And can we not talk about any more contract incentives, please?
Yeah, I don't think I mean, this game, the incentives are all about the 1 seed. I mean, what a change in the fortunes of whoever loses this game, especially if it's Detroit all year just controlling their own destiny, and then they find themselves in the 5-4 game. I still think whoever loses this game will beat the Rams, but I don't know, man. Like, obviously, it's a much tougher spot to be in if you're that 5 seed. So, ton to play for. Yeah, contract incentives, that stuff gets old pretty quickly. As far as the injury front goes, I don't think we're really dealing with that much.
Yeah, we should be good to go. See, we got about 500 people watching, so hit that like button. Let's talk about the players here. So when we look at the passing game here for the Vikings, you've got Sam Darnold, who has just been phenomenal this year, right? Shout out to Kevin O'Connell for working his magic on that. He is either going to end up being franchise tagged by Minnesota, probably depends on how they do in the playoffs, or some other team is going to give him a multi-year deal because he has finally put it all together. Remember, he was the third overall pick. Oh God, way back in the I think it was 2018 or 2019 draft. It was before the pandemic, but he has bounced around on a bunch of teams. In his last 10 games, he has multiple touchdowns in 8 of them. I'll say that one more time. Multiple touchdowns in 8 of them, 330 passing yards in 3 of them. And then last week he had a career high 377. He also had, I liked his running prop. You could get it at 14.5. I think it's ticked up to 16.5, but that was one that I wanted to call out for those of you that are building out some same game parlays for this contest. So there's not much we can say poorly about him. We get into his receivers here, Matt, and you've got Justin Jefferson is his down year, right? He's 5th in the league with 145 targets, 7th with 100 receptions, and he is 2nd in the league with almost 93 yards per game. And that's his down year. But shout out to Jamar Chase for getting the triple crown there. The key things for him is that he gets to work against backups, as does Jordan Addison, who has 8 or more targets in 6 of his last 7 games. And then you've got Jalen Naylor and then Hawkinson feeding out. But if this is a 4-man show, because when you get to Brandon Powell and Trent Sherfield, they don't even have 20 total targets on the season. And then the rest of the wide receivers are complete, or the tight ends are complete afterthoughts here. What do you think of the overarching passing game? Because this is where all the magic is going to happen, is Darnold going against that tattered defense.
Yeah, I mean, Detroit's defense is just a sieve right now. It's all secondary, all like backups, it seems, all over their entire defense. So there's a ton to like about the Minnesota passing game here. Obviously, it starts with Justin Jefferson, but we've seen Addison evolve into like a real solid number 2 wideout behind Jefferson. Hawkinson has slowly but surely been making his way back. So I think that there's a ton to like on the Minnesota passing game for sure. And then I feel pretty similar about Detroit because we know Detroit's offense is very, very good. And because their defense is not, they're going to need to score, which is why we're seeing a game with the highest total since that Rams-Chiefs game.
Let's see. What else do we want to call out from the passing game? Of course, we've got the Remember Me game aspect for Hawkinson. Remember last year's when he shredded his ACL and MCL against his former team. So he has been pretty solid. If we look at his last 6 games, he has 38 targets, while the rest of the tight ends have combined for just 8. Even though he missed the first 7 games of the year, Hawkinson has more targets, 2 more targets than Johnny Munt and Josh Oliver combined. So feed the Hawk. Feed the Hawk. He also has some interesting numbers. You can get 4.5 on his reception for the over. That was popping up on the portfolio edge tool today, as was his, I think he had 45.5 receiving yards. At one point it was 43.5, but those were interesting here. If we look at the running game, so Aaron Jones was dealing with the sore quad. That's his injury. He's going to do whatever he can to go tonight, right? Because if he wins, right, then great, he gets a week off. If they lose, well, whoever loses this game has the tough road to the Super Bowl. So Jones is going to do what he can. I think we see a little bit more Cam Akers tonight. That's just kind of my gut feel. But anything that's a high leverage touch is going to go to Aaron Jones. I don't think they're going to waste him too much between the 20s. He'll definitely play when we're in midfield, but I think we'll see a little bit more Akers if it's a running game. I think we do not see much, if any, of Ty Chandler. So this is really all about the passing game. Jones and Cam Akers are both capable receivers. Jones is actually a really good receiver. We know that from his time in Green Bay. But Akers isn't too shabby, even though he's bounced around the league a little bit here. Anything you want to call out on the running game? This feels like Detroit's going to the goal is Detroit putting pressure on the Vikings by scoring, so we're going to get less running game. That's the conventional thought to get that 57.5 total.
Yeah, I think it's the other way around, though. I think Minnesota's going to put the pressure on Detroit, and Detroit's running game is going to be the one that potentially is halted. Certainly the line is Detroit -3, so either side of that could happen. You feel better about Gibbs than you do Jones, like if the Lions get down as opposed to the Vikings, but Jones is still more than quality as a pass catcher, and he's significantly cheaper than Gibbs. So I like Aaron Jones a lot here. Yeah, with how I'm kind of reading this game, I like Minnesota in this spot. I just think they're the better team right now. I think they have advantages all over the field. And I think they win this game. I don't want to say handedly because that would be doing a discredit to Detroit, but I think they're the ones that control the pace in this game. And Detroit's running game is the one that potentially, again, has to catch up. I like Aaron Jones quite a bit in this spot. I think he looks really good, and I'm with you. I don't think we see Ty Chandler. I know we've seen a bunch of Cam Akers, and that's always a possibility. He's going to get some of the snaps, but again, this is a playoff game for all intents and purposes, and you're going to win or lose with your best players. Jones is one of those guys for me.
I can already tell you right now, which player am I afraid of not having enough of? It's going to be Aaron Jones. So
there's a lot of good players on this slate, though. You know what I mean? Such a high total. Like there are good players on both sides. It's just the nature of it.
Yeah, please let it be a good game. I see in chat they're saying if this is a bad game, people are going to lose their mind. Yes, they are. By the way, I've got team free money lineups out there. Yesterday, I went 1-17 in the afternoon game. Today on the main slate, I won 4 of my 42 head-to-heads. So I am just giving money away. Come get me on the Showdown slate here. Username EMac in the DK lobby. Just $1, but pride is priceless. Oh, you know what's also priceless? The offer we have going on here. We've got a nice little pick 6 offer here with DraftKings. So if you guys sign up there, you can play $5. Not only will you get $50 in pick 6 credits, but you'll also get a month of core DFS. And if you come in through the link join page, this is the important part. I'm going to drop this link into chat here. I think Jordan just beat me to it. But if you come in on that page, you're going to see 11 different operators there that we have offers with. If you are not signed up with one of these, like Rebet, perhaps Better, or even some of these sports books here, you can sign up, come in through our link, and all you got to do is make your deposit. You'll get their deposit bonuses and anything else that's assigned on the page here. Once you have your first pick'em card or your first wager settle, send a screenshot of your welcome email as well as the settled bet to support@stokastic.com. We will validate that you came through our link. I'm gonna say that one more time. You gotta come through our link. Every day there's someone that's, I just signed up for this. Great, but you didn't come through our link, so we don't get credit for it. And therefore we are not giving you the goods. The goods is 1 month of any sport Stokastic Sims max. So we still got a month left of football counting through the Super Bowl. We've got basketball running down the road. Maybe you're a CMED. Maybe you want to save it for the NBA. You can do, or the MLB. You can do that as well. But that is a Stokastic link join. Thomas Ryan, we will get to that super chat in a minute, but let's talk a little bit here about the Detroit side of the game. Obviously, no David Montgomery. That changes things up pretty dramatically, meaning it is going to consolidate a ton of the workload to Jamar Gibbs. We know that's going to be the case. There's nothing surprising there. So in the games without Montgomery, throughout his career, I think in all of them, he's had 20 full PPR points. I mean, there's 4 games if we look back to last year as well. So he is, he and Jefferson are going to kind of be your captains, but there's plenty that we're going to talk about, and we'll hit that on the super chat here. We mentioned Craig Reynolds is backing up Gibbs. He's been with the team. I believe this is his 4th year. He is a solid player, nothing flashy, but he is someone they trust. He is basically the Kenny Gainwell of Detroit. So we was a little nervous about that back issue, but I still expect him to see probably 15 to 20 snaps tonight, probably half a dozen touches or opportunities. I was a little higher until he was came up on the list there. And by higher, I mean 8. So it wasn't a lot, but they're going to try to get to their main horses here. We saw Jamar Jefferson get some of the work last week on Monday Night Football, or last week on Monday Night Football, which was just 6 days ago. He was the second player, and then Sion Vaki, we'll see if he pops up at all. Combine these guys project for 1.5 targets, or pardon me, total opportunities, counting carries and targets. If we look at Jared Goff, he is having the career best passer rating and QBR rating. Even though he's not going to make the Pro Bowl here, he has 36 touchdowns through the air against 10 interceptions. Not too bad. 36 sacks, though, fourth most sacks. So he will take sacks, and he doesn't run. He does not get much on the ground. I believe his rushing prop is around 2.5. Remember, that counts kneel downs. So he has got to get everything done through the air, but he leads the most high-powered offense in the league this season, 33.3 points per game for Detroit. He's not afraid of Minnesota. In each of the last 4 games against them, he has led Detroit to at least 30 points. He's doing that with Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's doing that with Jameson Williams. Khalif Raymond is going to be healthy. Those are the big 3. Tim Patrick has carved out a role. I suspect Allen Robinson will not do much, if anything. And then Tom Kennedy may return a kick or 2, but he is going to continue to be the CEO of Stokastic. Got to make that joke while I can, because I don't know that Detroit Tom Kennedy is going to be in the league much longer. What do you like from the passing attack here for Detroit?
Yeah. Well, first off, the running game, I didn't even talk about Gibbs.
Oh, okay. Like, well, we'll go back.
He's about as sure. Yeah, I mean, he's about as sure as it gets right now with no Montgomery. Double-digit fantasy points in every game this season. You've talked about 20+ in all the games without Montgomery. It's not a good matchup on paper. So, like on a main slate, I think you could certainly get by with not playing Gibbs in favor of other guys. It's not a main slate, though, so certainly Gibbs is going to project as the highest or one of the top 3 highest scorers on the slate. I'm a little bit lower on Gibbs in the field, but certainly for me, he's that guy that I know that I'm going to be scared to be, not have enough of, as you like to put it.
Yeah, this is going to be so interesting. I like how Williams has really come in kind of as the wingman and expanded his presence. I think that, Amon-Ra St. Brown, he's another guy that is capable of running all the routes on the route tree. I messaged you because basically you gave me shit for that on yesterday's show, and then Aikman said almost word for word what I said. Go Boomer, go Boomer. Aikman's a couple years older than me. So,
exactly.
I thought that was funny, but we've seen all pro Amon-Ra St. Brown, just phenomenal player. I mean, there's not much else to add for that, but it's nice seeing him have a complementary player. And then we've seen Raymond, and in the absence of Raymond, Tim Patrick actually work in kind of as that third role. Not on Monday Night Football. Patrick did not even have a single target, but he did have red zone targets. I think it was in 3 of the 4 games. Excuse me, heading into that, including one that looked like it was an early, like it was like a 17-yard attempt, and it either went off his hands or was a little too high. It was like 3 games ago. It was like, whoa, how's he getting it before, everybody else? So he's carved out a nice role there as well. And then, of course, we've got tight end Sam Laporta, who was, took him a little while to get going this season, but he's been on the field for just over 93% of the snaps since missing week 11. Brock Wright is on the field a ton. He's not getting targets. He's there for blocking. He gets the courtesy, the thank you targets. This is not a game where he's going to get, let's throw one to him. It's going to be, maybe he gets one in the course of the game, but not with these 5 other better pass catchers, including Gibbs, surrounding him. So that makes it a little bit tricky. But anything else you want to hit on for the Detroit offense? Then we'll hit special teams, then we'll start talking super chats here.
I like Khalif Raymond at 200. I think there's a lot of unknown there. Like, is he going to just fully take back that role from Tim Patrick? But he's 200, and we know that, he is clearly a part of this offense when healthy. So, yeah, I like that call a lot. I think he's just way too cheap at 200.
All right, let me get to my notes here because we've got some fun. So the defenses, yikes. The Lions are without Aiden Hutchinson. Okay, that's the big one. But they're also without Alim McNeil, Mekhi Wingo, Malcolm Rodriguez, Derek Barnes, Carlton Davis III, Ennis Rakestraw Jr., and Nickelback Emmanuel Mosley. So that is a mess. Uh, it's hard to really say what they are going to do. Um, over the last 4 games, they've allowed 31, 48, 17, and 34 points. They're averaging 1.3 sacks and 1.3 turnovers in that stretch. Just, it's tough to get excited about them. If we look at Minnesota, we've already mentioned Goff gives up a bunch of sacks, 36 on the season, but he has done pretty well at limiting the interceptions. So the Vikings tend to blitz at one of the highest rates this season. Nothing new there. We've been looking at that for 4 months now, so we're all aware of that. But that is something that should not really impact Goff that much. If we look at our kickers, you've got Will Reichard, 6th-rounder out of Alabama. He was hurt earlier this season, but he's made all 38 of his extra point attempts. He has an 84% touchback on kickoffs, which is amazing. And then he has converted on 7 of 9 from 50 plus. That is a major leg. He is also at home. Pardon me, he is on the road, but in the dome. So he's going to be perfectly fine. The other side, you've got Bates. So he was the guy that played soccer for Central Arkansas, then was a kickoff specialist for 2 different colleges, ended up at the UFL, kicked 4 60-plus yard field goal attempts there, and got himself a tryout finally with the NFL, and he has been phenomenal since. So 2 great kickers that we have going here. All right,
and the other thing is, just real quick on the kickers, because I know sometimes people see a total this high and they don't want to get to the kickers, but I'd caution there. You know, we've seen one showdown slate this year, that Atlanta Tampa game, I think, that was just, I know it was at least in the 30s, so very high total it finished with. And I'm pretty sure both kickers were optimal because they kicked long field goals. So both these guys tonight will kick long field goals if given the opportunity, and that's all you can really ask for.
Yeah, and if you look at a lot of the pick'em sites, not the, I didn't go looking for the, because I don't bet, I only bet these on pick'em sites when I'm trying to make a parlay for these same game ones. But most pick'em sites have set 1.5 made field goals as the line and 7.5 kicking points. The pick'em sites, you need to understand the rules, because the kicking points usually means like NFL kicking. So 3 for a field goal, even if it's a 50-yarder. But you can see if that's where they're setting it, it's like, oh, okay, that's not too shabby at all. So that's a good call out to remind everybody on that. All right, Thomas Ryan, patiently waiting for his super chat here. He wants to know what you are thinking of. Who are your top 3 captains tonight, Matt? He says, EMac, go pound sand. Okay.
I like the way he's talking. I'm gonna say Jefferson, Amon-Ra are my easy top 2. And then I'm gonna go with Darnold as my 3rd. I think he can spread around enough. I like Minnesota here. So the 2 top wideouts and then Darnold. No Gibbs for me.
All right. And then large field, single injury. Probably single injury. Well, hopefully there are no injuries tonight. Fingers crossed. Poor Matt is having flashbacks of his lineups today that were riddled with injuries. How do you want to approach a large field single entry tournament tonight?
As opposed to
heavy player. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, for me, if I'm making like a single entry lineup, which I'm not doing, I'm playing a bunch in that $20. But if I were, I would 100% be rostering one of the 2 wideouts I talked about and then fill in from there. This is certainly a slate. You know, we see these a bunch. The total is a perfect, example. There's a ton of good players tonight, so you're not going to be able to roster everyone. I'd love to say just captain Amon-Ra or Jefferson and then play Gibbs, both quarterbacks, the other wideout. You can't do that. So I'm going to say for me, the 2 wideouts are the priorities. I want Amon-Ra and Jefferson in like all my lines. And if I were making one line, they would both be in it, like for sure.
All right. I'm going to read off my cash game lineup. I've still got 7 more out there. You guys can grab those team free money. In fact, I am hemorrhaging at this point this season, but I'm going with Gibbs and the captain. So I want to call that out because I agree with Matt on going with the receivers in the tournaments, but I'm going with Gibbs at captain. I couldn't get Jefferson in, so I went with Addison. Both quarterbacks, Hawkinson, and then you'll be able to fill that last play out yourself. We don't want to give full lineups, but you'll see what happens when there's only about $200 left. You know who we're going to spend that on. But that's where I landed on the cash game lineup. I wanted to build it around Jefferson. It just didn't work out. But I felt that Addison is a reasonable contingency play or consolation prize, I guess is what I'm going for. Again, he has eight or so targets in most of his last half dozen games. The volume's there. He gets the ball a lot over the middle of the field, kind of in that I think they call it, I think that's the splash zone that they call it. In any event, he, when they're playing the 2 high or the 3 high or the 4 high, he can work that part of the field, which I think is very helpful because he's also rather fast. And the attention, if they're rolling coverage anywhere, if they have enough bodies to roll coverage to somebody, it's probably going to be going against Jefferson. The same argument says, feed the hawk. He also could do that if the guys are both working on the outside, that middle of the Detroit defense. I think that's the soft underbelly that we want to target. But that's how I ended up with that particular combination of Gibbs and Addison there. All right, we have 20 minutes to go.
Yeah, the more I think about this slate, I just want to reiterate, I like both kickers a lot. Both kickers are good. They kick long field goals, and I think both teams are going to be able to move the ball. My biggest concern with the kickers is that these coaches tend to go for it. So you might see that. Like, that could certainly be a problem for the kickers. But the counter to that is that they will send them out for long field goal attempts. And that's what you really want when you're going to roster kickers. In a dome, both these guys have big legs. I like the idea of getting to both kickers. And again, I think they're going to be owned, but there's so many skill position players that are desirable. I don't think they get as much love as they should.
All right. I'm going to open our projected stats page here. Over a question in chat, over under 90 yards, 90 and a half rushing yards for Gibbs. I'm leaning towards the under. So we haven't projected for 100 yards, but he's active enough in the passing game that some of the yards could end up that way. And that just means there's less reason for him to run. And especially if he picks up, he or anybody else is picking up 17, 25 yards in a chunk play, then that's, 3 less rushing attempts that are going to happen to move the ball down the field. So, could he rip off a long one? Yeah, absolutely. But I would lean towards the under there, even with our projection saying he's close to 100. If you can get the combined yards, I would assume his combined yards are probably don't have any. I'm in Zoom, so the sports books don't like that when you're in Zoom trying to log into them. I would assume his combined yards is around 115 or 117 and a half. I would probably go with the over on that, but then you're hoping for like a 60-60 split or something like that, right? Then you're excited anytime he touches the ball. Doesn't matter if it's a run or reception, because if I remember correctly on Monday Night Football, I thought I bet one or the other, and then he had he had like a 17-yard early on of the one I didn't bet. I'm like, why didn't I just do the combined yards? So didn't matter. But that's just one way to think about that. All right. Addison under 92 and a half. I would agree with the under on there. I was getting it at 68 and a half. I was not fully excited about that, but I was using that to build out same game parlays. I believe I was taking over 5.5 on his receptions there for Addison. So, okay, let me see. I hear a little Discord action here. I think we are good there. Chat, if you have questions, feel free to put those in there. I'm going to kick off my Sims here. I'm assuming we've got all of our updates in. We had projections 10 minutes ago. Nothing has really changed, so I'm okay with wherever our the player popularity is. So let me get that going off here. All right. How many lineups are you putting in that big contest?
I'm just playing 10, just a little bit too much. when we're doing the show right before.
Yes, that is the one thing is playing these. I need to
All of a
remind
sudden, if you
myself.
have a problem like uploading and stuff, it is just too much of a hassle for me.
Yes, and as someone who has had that happen on air, it is not fun. Thank you to producer Jordan Klein for being here because back in the day when we were running OBS and trying to produce the Sunday Night Show ourselves, it would kill the RAM on our computer, or is it the ROM? I forget what, but in any event, my poor little computer just kind of froze on me. And I ended up that lineup I ran. I remember the 49ers were, I think it was 49ers Arizona maybe. I ended up cashing everything with that lineup, and even some quints. So I ended up like 4xing, and I'm like, really? But I just went to bed. I was so mad after the show. I was just like, I don't even. I've spent all this time on that. I'm done. So yes, I don't want that to happen to either of us. So let me kick this off. All right, let's get back here in the chat. St. Brown or Williams? I'm actually okay with Williams because of the savings, and there are so many places you could spend money or upgrade. When we're looking at the lesser players, there's really not that many here, and they're going to be the same ones everybody sorts of land on, right? The Khalif Raymonds, maybe you're going to the tight ends who aren't particularly cheap, or you're starting to look at Craig Reynolds, Tim Patrick. Naylor. We didn't really talk about Jalen Naylor. He's another guy I took the overs on. I think he had 16 and a half yards and 1.5 receptions. That was on the pick'em sites. So he is someone that I think is actually kind of interesting. If everybody else is covered, maybe he gets there. I believe he has like 6 touchdowns on the season or something crazy like that. But
He had a big game last week.
Yeah, he was a guy I was kind of thinking up there. Captains. I'm okay with Darnold as the captain, less so with Goff. I do like Darnold has potential rushing upside. I mean, we remember back to his time in Carolina where he had like back-to-back weeks of 2 rushing touchdowns or something crazy like that. He's competent. He could get the carries inside the 5, or maybe break one off from 15 yards or in. But I liked his scramble potential here as well. Goff, just that's not something that's in his bag. All right, let me kick on the contest simulation. Okay, let's get back here to this. Are we okay with playing Acres? I don't have an issue with playing Acres. Mentally, my thought is he's going to get 2.5 touches. That's kind of the minimum baseline, and then he has contingent value if anything happens to Aaron Jones. And as I mentioned, I think he could be the guy that gets some of the midfield touches if that's the path that the coaches want to take. The high value touches, right? The high leverage touches, those are going to go to Aaron Jones if there's any backfield touches. But I think Akers is in play just because Jones is banged up with that quad.
Yeah, and like I'm with you, the high leverage touches will go to Jones, but like Akers has a place and a role on this offense. Like a lot of times he comes in every third series, so I don't know if they're going to change that tonight. Like I feel like he needs to score on a slate like this for him to be viable because there's just so many routes to getting points on a slate with these two offenses. I'm not overly interested in Akers, but certainly he's like not out of play, if that makes sense.
Sure. So we have him for 2.78 carries and half of a target. So kind of around that 2.5 that I was kind of mentally visualizing there on that. What else do we have? Oh, we're talking about Daniel Jones. No. What happens if this is like, no, these offenses are too good. You'd have to be down by 3 touchdowns in the second half, midway through the third quarter before anybody's even thinking about not keeping the starters out there.
Nah, even at that point, like there's I mean, it would have to be like, I mean, in that scenario where it's a 21-point game, like deep in the fourth quarter, in my opinion.
Right, because
I mean,
you're going
there's so
on
much
the road
to play for. Yeah,
like you're going on. That's the 5 seed to try to get to the Super Bowl. Which dome team wants that? I don't think either.
I don't really see this as a game where either team's going to be up by that many points. Certainly it's possible, like anything can happen, but I'm not worried about teams like pulling their starters at all in this spot. I mean, this is like the most important game of the season.
This is just gonna be fun. All right, I see I think I've got three more super $1 head to head still floating around out there. If you guys want to grab those, enjoy. Because I am not doing well on my cash game lineups. All right, I'm just sorting out I'm playing for a whole bunch of tickets tonight. I'm nervous because DK launched a bunch of $25 ticket contests, and I have a bunch of $20 contests, and I'm half worried that next week they're going to do something stupid and make it a $25 contest, and I'm going to be sitting on a bunch of tickets. It's either that or that's going to be their Super Bowl contest, and they just haven't tagged it as the big game yet. So I ended up playing a bunch of these low-dollar ticket contests because I get frustrated with how they do their tickets, but that's just me. All right, we have 12 minutes left. So what I am going to do is I'm going to talk through quickly what I'm doing with captains here. How are you doing on your lineups?
I am doing just Andy. So whatever you
All
need me
right.
to do, I'm here.
Okay, so what I do here is as I look on look on the exposure caps here to kind of play around with what I'm doing with my captain. So this is actually really interesting. So I am getting like without doing anything, man. This is really weird. I've got TJ Hawkinson at 15, Gibbs at 15, Addison at 14, Justin Jefferson at 12, Darnold at 10, Jameis Williams at 10, Amon-Ra at 7, Laporta at 6, Goff at 4. I didn't really like that, but I'll take it. And then I've got the kickers at 2, whatever, that's fine. And then, wow, that is really interesting. I don't really feel like I want to change any of those. And then quickly looking through the rest of the positions here, 45% of Bates. He is the home kicker. 37% of Reichard. Gibbs, I'm matching the field on. All right, I'll accept that. Laporta, I'm a little bit above. Addison, I'm above 40 to 33. So I'm making a stand on the kickers. Hawkinson, I'm going to feed the Hawk tonight. I got him at 50%. I'm going to cap that at 40, and I'm going to hope I get a little bit more Addison. That's my hope there. But that looks to be the only change I'm going to make. I'm coming in around the field on Jones, a little bit under, around the field with Khalif Raymond. I'm okay with that. Amon-Ra. Okay, there's the first player I have starting to feel some regrets. Amon-Ra, I
Yeah.
have just 19%.
The Sims really like Hawkinson and are lower on Amon-Ra. So I had to do a little,
Really
I had to change some things a little bit.
All right, so what I'm going to do there is I'm going to go in and hit the boosts. I'm going to go Amon-Ra. I'm going to boost him 15%, and I'm going to reselect my 100 lineups. See what happens there, and then we'll start answering questions again. That gets me even with the field. I'm okay with that. What happened to Hawkinson? Hawkinson, because I pushed him down. Ooh, Hawkinson 18% in the captain spot feels a little bit rich. I'm going to change that to 12. Reselect, bring her back. What did that do with Hawk? So Hawk, I'm now at 40 and 12. I'm hitting my caps. Addison, I did not want to lose any of him at that expense, 14 and 43. And then quickly, what did Amon-Ra end up with? Still around the field at 35, a little lighter on captain, but I'm going to go with this. I kind of like where these are. So, Jordan, I got 9 minutes left. Let's not jinx this, Matt, but I think I'm going to get my lineups in ample time tonight.
I think that's great.
I'm afraid of not having enough Aaron Jones. I'm now a little nervous about being over on TJ Hawkinson, but hey, who am I to argue with the Sims? I don't know that I should. Who are now that you've got your lineups ready to go? Who are you fearing that you are lacking?
Both Gibbs and Aaron Jones. So
Okay.
not getting a ton of either running game here. And it is what it is. I like the passing games more. So it could easily burn me, but I do think that this game, the matchup sets up better for the passing games than it does the running games anyway. So I'm not overly mad at it.
All right, I'm gonna set myself a little alarm here because there is some more NBA. I'm gonna need to run my late swaps because there is one game at 8:30. So we're gonna get off there and then we're gonna start talking, and then I'm gonna say I gotta go pee, and then I'm not gonna get these lineups in because I'm gonna get distracted by eating dinner. So there we go, setting that alarm. All right, 8 minutes left. I like this. Amon Ra was putting sunscreen on in the locker room. Sometimes that's gotta happen. Sometimes that gotta happen. That's gonna happen. What else do we have? Not too many questions here. EMac 1-800-GAMBLER. Hey, see what they're gonna say. See who they like tonight, right? I mean, they're getting a large sample
No,
size.
do not do that. Do not do that.
All righty. 750 people watching. Thank you guys. We appreciate you tuning in on Sunday night for the final game of the regular season. Hit that like button. You guys can also, I'll just mention the link join. Jordan can drop it into chat. We won't go into the full blown read on that, but that is a great way to get these Stokastic sims. And if you get it now, you can get the last month of NFL, which a lot of high leverage games. You get it for all the showdowns. You get it for all the sub slates. It's a great product. Great product. Let's see if there's anything here. We're good. Jordan, you're going to give everybody a little producer cam on our way out of here? Don't use bad words unless the audience can hear you, Jordan. Jetta or Gibbs for captain? Who is? I'm assuming that's Justin Jefferson.
It is.
I ended up with Gibbs in my cash game lineups, but I wanted Jefferson. I think Jefferson and Addison are the good guys to go with in tournaments. Those would be the two I would look for. So to answer your question specifically, Justin Jefferson.
It's Jefferson for me. I like Jefferson and St. Brown as my two favorite guys. And then I am getting a little bit of Hawkinson just because I like him. The Sims really like him, and he's cheap. So, yeah.
And
I
you
like
can yell,
Hawkinson,
feed
too.
the hawk. You know I'm sending you that message when he does something.
Oh, I know you will. I know you will. And I will giggle when I see it. So, thank you for that in advance.
Yes, in advance. In advance. Let's see. Kuzma ruined somebody's night. I'm not watching that. Yeah, last night, Kaminga and D'Lo on Yahoo.
That was early. D'Lo was early.
They locked at 6, yeah. So that was their main slate. That kind
Well,
of stuff.
Kaminga was awful. The Heat were so bad, man.
136 points was it for Utah?
That is a bad loss. Like that, I don't. Yeah,
Bryce
Miami got robbed.
Sensabaugh, who knew? 30
Right?
points.
50 fantasy points for him. Jesus.
All right. Thoughts on fading Goff? I think a good way to fade him would be to match the field or come in a little below it and not play him in the multiplier slot. If you're building more than 5 lineups, I would be okay, not having him on any. But if you get beyond that, it gets harder and harder. I mean, he is the maestro. He is the conductor of the best offense in the league this year. 36 touchdowns. That is, and I'm blanking on who were we talking about yesterday? Oh, Burrow had 42 on the season. So Goff's having a phenomenal year. There's just no running that's backing it up. But he has led Detroit to 30 plus points in each of the last 4 matchups against the Vikings. So Goff first touchdown 60 plus 6,600. If you get that, you are go get a lottery ticket with those winnings. just go get the quick picks, just put it all down. That would be the best investment you could make with that.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Yeah. All right, we are 4 minutes away. Nothing too exciting, nothing too crazy. Yeah, I'm like all you guys. I'm super looking forward to this game. Just let it be a close one. Let it be a close one with like 8 touchdowns. That'd be fun. That'd be fun. Anyone going with Craig Reynolds? So with Khalif Raymond coming in and Reynolds being a little banged up, I was playing around with Reynolds potentially going into my cash game lineup, but I couldn't get there. Reynolds. I don't have any Trent Sherfield, but if I spell Reynolds correctly, I do not have any Craig Reynolds.
Same.
Yeah, the field's at 2% in flex and basically a less than 0 in the captain spot. Jameson or Addison, if you had to pick one, that's a good one. I would lean towards Addison. I just like him better. If the Detroit defense was at full strength, I would go with Jameson. Because they're not and they're missing so many people, I think Addison is best equipped to take advantage of that, with Jefferson drawing the attention and Hawkinson backing him up. I think Addison is best equipped in this matchup.
Yeah, I have a hard time choosing between them. Like,
it's like
they're
53,
both,
47. Yeah, it's not that far apart. But
no, it's not far apart at all. And it's both these teams are set up so similarly, where they have elite number ones and then guys that could be number ones if they didn't have the guys in front of them. So all 4 guys have massive upside on any given slate.
This is going to be a good one. All right. Well, since we are basically not getting any questions and we're almost at lock here, I think we can sign off. Jordan, you good with that? Matt, any final things you want to point out? All right.
No,
well,
good luck.
Let's slide on out of here. Remember, we're looking at playoff matchups tomorrow. You're going to want to get in your best ball playoff drafts because those need to happen before Saturday. So if you're sitting on some of those tickets, don't wait too long. But aside from that, everybody, thank you for a fun season. We're going to be with you throughout the playoffs and the Super Bowl here for Sunday Night Football. But with that, you guys can follow Matt on Twitter at Fantasy Tips Matt. I am at EMac DFS. And of course, it is Stokastic _COM. With that, gamers, good luck.